The wind howls across the shattered landscape of Donbas, sweeping over the ruins and echoing through the empty, snow-choked streets. The devastation is made even more haunting by the relentless winter, which blankets everything in a suffocating silence. The biting cold rides on the wind, stinging like 1,000 needles against any exposed skin, numbing faces and hands within minutes. Each gust seems to sap the strength from those who dare to face it. In the winter of 2026, temperatures have plunged to a bone-chilling minus 30 degrees Celsius. The ground, once muddy and churned by boots and tank treads, is now a treacherous sheet of ice, making every step a struggle and every movement a risk. For Russian soldiers huddled in shallow, hastily dug trenches, the war has taken on a terrifying new dimension. The cold itself has become a relentless, invisible enemy, one that cannot be fought with bullets or artillery. The freezing air seeps through every layer of uniform, turning sweat to ice and numbing limbs until rifles are barely held. Frostbite is a constant threat, and the pain is unending, gnawing at their resolve. Soldiers cluster together, desperate for warmth, their breath hanging in the air like ghosts. Faces are drawn and gaunt, marked by exhaustion, hunger, and the unmistakable scars of frostbite. Every hour is a battle to stay alive. The once mighty Russian army, famed for its endurance, now finds itself locked in a desperate struggle, not just against the Ukrainian defenders, but against the merciless elements that show no mercy. The legendary Russian winter, which once helped turn the tide of wars, has now become a foe. The same snow and ice that defeated invaders in the past now threaten to break the will of Russian troops. Coughing and shivering echo through the trenches, a grim soundtrack to a crisis that deepens with every passing night. Illness spreads quickly in the cold, and medical supplies are running low. Reports from the front paint a bleak picture, an army ill-equipped for the ferocity of a Ukrainian winter. Tattered uniforms and makeshift shelters offer little protection from the relentless cold. Soldiers burn whatever scraps they can find, wood, debris, even ammunition crates, just to keep their blood moving. But the weak fires barely hold back the chill, and the smoke stings their eyes. The war has become a brutal test of endurance, and many are failing. Exhaustion claims as many as the enemy's bullets, and the snow is littered with those who could not go on. From Chasiv Yar to Kupiansk, Russian units are being ground down, not just by Ukrainian resistance, but by the brutal, unyielding physics of freezing temperatures. Equipment is abandoned, vehicles freeze, and morale crumbles. Morale has hit rock bottom. Soldiers now fear the long, freezing nights more than the enemy's guns. The darkness brings not rest, but dread. The Great Russian Winter, once a symbol of resilience and national pride, has become a weapon turned against its own. In Donbas, the cold is now the deadliest enemy of all. Moscow's official casualty reports rarely mention the true cause of death for many soldiers fighting in the frozen trenches of Donbas. The numbers are carefully managed, the language vague, but behind the statistics lies a reality far more chilling than most realize. The grim truth is that a significant number of Russian troops are not falling to enemy fire, but to the relentless cold itself. For many, the battlefield is a frozen graveyard. Hypothermia is rampant. Men are discovered frozen solid in their sleeping bags, while others simply collapse at their posts, unable to withstand the brutal temperatures that drop well below freezing night after night. This is a war of attrition where the weather itself has become the deadliest weapon. Blizzards sweep across the trenches, burying equipment and men alike, making every movement a struggle for survival. Frostbite is everywhere, leading to the loss of fingers, toes, and sometimes entire limbs. Makeshift medical stations are overwhelmed, unable to keep up with the constant stream of cold-related injuries. The lack of proper medical supplies turns what should be minor wounds into life-threatening infections. Even a small cut can become deadly when there's no warmth, no antibiotics, and no hope of evacuation. The cold is a silent killer, claiming victims without a single shot fired. Soldiers are found lifeless, untouched by bullets, simply overcome by the elements. The psychological toll is just as devastating. Hopelessness and despair set in, more corrosive than the fear of the enemy. The endless cold gnaws at morale, leaving men hollow-eyed and broken. Soldiers are too cold to sleep, too numb to eat, and too exhausted to fight effectively. Hunger and fatigue make them easy targets for Ukrainian attacks, further compounding their misery. Early hypothermia slows reactions, clouds judgment, and saps the will to survive. Even the simplest tasks become monumental challenges. Stories from the front are harrowing. Comrades dying quietly in the night, desperate measures taken just to make it through until morning. Some share cigarettes, others share what little warmth they can. These are not the actions of a modern, well-equipped army, but of men pushed to the very edge of human endurance, forced to improvise with whatever scraps of clothing and gear they can find. The Russian military is learning a painful lesson. You can order a man to fight, but you cannot order him to survive minus 30 degrees without proper gear, training, and support. In this frozen war, the cold is winning where bullets have failed. The landscape itself has become the deadliest adversary, and for many, there is no escape from its icy grip. For centuries, Russia built a legend around General Winter, a force that defeated Napoleon and Hitler. The story invaders perished in the snow, the land itself defending the motherland. In World War II, Soviet troops were prepared for winter, using it to their advantage, against the Germans. The Winter War with Finland showed how preparation and agility could turn winter into a weapon. This history created a powerful belief: winter is Russia's ally, weakening enemies while Russians endure. That belief shaped their strategy in Ukraine. They expected the cold to break Ukrainian morale, but history has a cruel sense of irony. The winter that once protected Russia now punishes its own soldiers. The myth of General Winter is being rewritten on the frozen fields of Donbas. The past is no longer a guide. The cold is no longer a friend. The Kremlin's winter strategy was built on a myth that the cold would cripple Ukraine and favor Russia. But General Winter is not magic. It's about logistics, preparation, and technology. Napoleon and Hitler failed because their armies were unprepared. Now, it's Russia's turn. Decades of corruption and poor planning have left the Russian military unready for modern winter war. The logistical system is broken. Supplies are delayed, stolen, or lost. Soldiers are left to fend for themselves, burning whatever they can find for warmth. Instead of weakening Ukraine, winter has exposed Russia's own deep-seated weaknesses. The myth that Russian soldiers are naturally more resilient has been proven false. Western-supplied Ukrainian troops are better equipped and more resilient. The Kremlin gambled on history repeating itself, but failed to learn its lessons. Preparation and logistics are everything in winter warfare. Russia is learning this lesson the hard way. Data from the front lines shows Russia's winter crisis in stark numbers. Russian offensives have slowed to a crawl. Advances have stalled across Donbas. The grand winter offensive never materialized. The army is frozen in place. Casualty rates have soared, with more soldiers lost to cold than combat. Frostbite, hypothermia, and illness hollow out units from within. Operational readiness in many units has dropped below 50%. Most troops lack proper winter gear. What exists is often stolen or sold. The army cannot maintain pressure while losing more to weather than the enemy. Experienced units are pulled back, replaced by poorly trained conscripts. This cycle of losses and declining combat power is unsustainable. The numbers are clear. Russia's winter strategy has backfired. The cold is systematically dismantling their army. The winter of 2026 reveals a stark contrast between Russian and Ukrainian forces. Russian troops shiver in inadequate clothing, suffering from logistical collapse. Ukrainian soldiers, by contrast, are well equipped with modern winter gear from Western allies. Thermal clothing, insulated boots, heated shelters, and portable generators keep them warm and effective. Decentralized logistics ensure supplies reach the front lines. Western aid includes not just weapons, but food, medical supplies, and all-terrain vehicles. This comprehensive support sustains Ukrainian morale and fighting capability. While Russians struggle to survive, Ukrainians conduct effective operations. High morale and visible support from allies give Ukraine a psychological edge. The difference is not innate toughness, but preparation and support. Modern military aid is about sustaining the soldier, not just arming them. On the battlefield, this preparation is decisive. Ukraine is proving that a well-supported army can overcome both enemy and environment. The Russian army's suffering is a story of logistical failure. Corruption and inefficiency cripple the supply system. Winter gear and food rarely reach the front. Aging trucks and poor roads create bottlenecks. Convoys are easy targets for Ukrainian attacks. Soldiers risk their lives just to retrieve basic supplies. Food shortages are rampant, rations are scarce and often inedible. Hunger and cold create a vicious cycle, draining strength and morale. Reports of insubordination and desertion are rising. Years of underinvestment and corruption have left the army hollow. An army's strength is measured by its ability to sustain its troops. Without a functioning supply line, even the most powerful army is defeated by the elements. Russia's winter crisis is felt along key battle lines in eastern Ukraine, where the landscape is transformed into a frozen wasteland. The snow and ice have become as much a part of the battlefield as the soldiers themselves, shaping every movement and decision. Near Pokrovsk, Russian advances have ground to a halt. Vehicles are immobilized by the cold, and troops lack the energy and resources to mount any meaningful offense. The harsh winter has exposed the limits of their logistics, leaving many units stranded and demoralized. In Chasiv Yar, repeated Russian assaults have been repulsed. Now, the cold is Ukraine's unexpected ally. Ukrainian defenders, well prepared for winter warfare, use the freezing conditions to their advantage, strengthening their positions and morale. Massed infantry attacks falter in open, snow-covered fields. Losses mount for little gain. The exposed terrain offers no shelter, and the bitter wind saps the strength of advancing troops, making every step a struggle. The battle has become static, with the cold inflicting as many casualties as combat. Frostbite and hypothermia are constant threats, and the trenches offer little protection from the relentless winter. In Kupiansk, offensives have sputtered out. Poorly supplied, minimally trained Russian units struggle to survive. Many are forced to improvise shelters and ration dwindling supplies, as the cold tests their endurance and willpower. Ukrainian defenders use superior gear and terrain knowledge to hold the line. Their winter uniforms and tactical awareness give them a crucial edge, allowing them to outmaneuver and outlast their adversaries. Across all fronts, the pattern is the same. Russian forces are pinned down and suffering. Wounded soldiers wait for evacuation in freezing conditions, while morale continues to erode. The winter exposes the hollowness of Russian military power. Abandoned equipment and empty outposts tell the story of a force stretched beyond its limits. Their strategy of overwhelming mass has failed. They cannot sustain it in these conditions. The cold has become a silent adversary, grinding down their numbers and resolve. The iron of tanks is defeated by the ice of winter. Machines designed for war are rendered useless, frozen in place by nature's power. The decisive battle is now between soldiers and the cold, and Russia is losing. As winter deepens, survival itself becomes the greatest challenge, and the outcome of the conflict hangs in the balance. As winter devastates the Russian army, a profound question emerges. Has General Winter switched sides? The force that once saved Russia now punishes it. The myth of Russian resilience in winter is collapsing in the mud of Ukraine. In modern war, resilience is about technology, training and logistics, not nationality. Ukrainian soldiers, backed by Western support, have proven this with devastating clarity. The crisis exposes a military stuck in the past, crippled by corruption and incompetence. The cold didn't create this weakness, it revealed it. The future of the conflict may be decided by logistics and technology, not mass and myth. The legend of General Winter was always about failed supply lines. Now, it's Russia's own that have failed. In this new era, what truly makes an army strong?